Yes, it is quite literal that this is literally how to sound exactly like a wolf. And some of this stuff is going to take at least months, maybe even a year, depending on how much you practice on it. Some of it actually you can get quite quickly within a few weeks. Again, depending on how much time and effort you put into it. This is really designed for what I call animal soul people, animal spirit people. I don't really like to use the word therian because therian usually implies that you do not believe in any kind of shifting aspect, and really animal soul could be either or. You believe in it or you don't believe in it, so it's kind of just a broad spectrum. I do have a lot of different videos on shifting if you're interested in that, but this is really not. This is just an outlet for people like us. We feel really caged. We feel like we want to rip out of our own skin. We literally feel like an animal trapped in a human's body. And sometimes, if that's not given an outlet, one or two things can happen. And I talked about this a little bit in the videos when I talked about mental shifting. If you don't give yourself some kind of outlet, especially the vocalizations, the running on all fours, that kind of thing, you really are setting yourself up for eventually either having an accidental explosion of mental shift that you cannot control, and you're likely to accidentally be, spotted somewhere in public, and then therefore maybe even get put in a insane asylum for a while. You can get stuck like that too, or you're going to refuse to be yourself for so long that your chakras literally start to become immensely affected. We talk about chakras being a direct connection to the physical body. So when your chakras are imbalanced, you get, cancer, you get maybe chronic illnesses, organs start failing. I mean, it's very physical. In paganism, we do believe it is quite physical. And so if you never allow yourself to be yourself, and that's always bottled up inside, either it's going to literally eat at your chakras, or it's going to explode one day, or both. So doing vocalizations just alone actually is an immense freeing feeling. The first time that I actually finally achieved what I wanted to achieve and sounded like an actual wolf, for example, I remember that feeling was just so freeing, because I feel like a wolf trapped in a person, in a human's body. And when I was able to do that, it was just like a huge, just almost out of body experience. I can't even explain it. It was just, I don't even know what, there's no words really. But once you do that once, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Until then, you're not going to have that feeling until it actually starts to sound real. You're not going to have that freeing feeling. It's not going to sound real or even feel freeing at all unless, you've gotten to a point with it that it actually mimics it the way it's supposed to. So while you're still in learning, it's not really going to feel freeing at all. But once you've learned it, and listen back, record yourself and listen back, because from experience, from personal experience, you don't always sound exactly what you think you sound like. And so when you think you're getting close to what you want, then record yourself and see, okay, how close am I really? And then the way that I learned is I listened to soundtracks and I watched videos of actual wolves actually growling and actually howling, and then I would compare what I sound like on that recorder to them over and over and over and over again, and that's how I learned. I didn't have anybody sit here and give me any pointers. I just had to learn by watching and doing and trial and error, and therefore I'm going to start out with growling because growling is a lot easier, and you could probably learn that, you know, tops a week, maybe even a few days, if you really practice at it. So many different species growl, you know, they sound a little different, but you can take this, what I'm about to tell you, and then apply it to your own species if it's not wolf. And you can kind of tailor it to the way that the growl for whatever species it is. Because the main, no matter what kind of growl it is, the main mechanisms behind it remains the same. So it's like, if I were to point right there, or maybe even probably like right there, okay, if this is the front of your throat and then the back of your throat, okay, at the very back of your throat, if you could just put a laser and then it hit the back of your throat, that is the location where the sound is made. Not your tongue, not your lips, not your nose. It's very deep in your throat, in the back of your throat, and very deep in your throat. Now, when you're snarling, it kind of does, the air kind of gets pinched and pushed out your nose. But the sound never actually comes from anywhere other than the back of your throat. The shape of your lips and your tongue and everything, what is facial expressions you're making, is going to change the pitch and the overall tone of it. That's just partly due to the brachiocephalic human face. You really can't, there's only so much you can do. So let me explain. If I'm just sitting here like this, with my mouth closed, this is what it sounds like. But if I open my mouth, it changes the sound a lot, even though I'm doing the same position of my tongue, my throat, everything else is the same. I just open my mouth. So, and then if you're snarling and you've got the curled tongue and everything, it changes it a lot. And there's a way to snarl without changing the pitch. I'll show you that last. See how much it changes that? With the human face, it's pretty difficult to not sound like that. So if you want to snarl but still have it deep, go like this. I'm still kind of snarling, but my tongue is not curled and it's not like immense, and that gives me the ability to still have the deep sound. Muscles you're using, you have to use a lot of different muscles that you're not used to using. There's muscles on the side, there's muscles in the back of your throat that you're using, there's muscles in your tongue that you're using. Expect to have a sore throat for a while. That's normal until your muscles get used to doing it. So howling, oh yeah, and some of this is just trial and error, by the way. There's no other way around it, I'm sorry. Howling is a lot more complicated. If you sat there for 30 minutes every night, you might be able to get it in a few months. But if you were like me and didn't have the means to do that every single night, it might take you 2 years to learn. What people's biggest mistake is that they try to do everything with their mouth, like humans do. Okay, no, it doesn't have anything to do with your mouth. It has everything to do with your tongue and the muscles in your throat. Again, when you howl, you use even more of it. You have to expand your throat immensely. Let me show you just how much your throat. So unfortunately, a portion of this video is accidentally cut out, and then I had to redo it. And by now it's nightfall, so it's not the best of lighting to see. Hopefully you can see well enough for this, but I want to show you just what happens to my throat when I howl. You can actually see it. This would be a lot more impactful also if I didn't have a double chin, But here we go. So this is my throat normally, what it looks like normally. This is what happens when I howl. You see how, why did you have to see if I can do it this way? You see, if, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell this way, but I'm going to try both ways. I don't know if you can see that part, but yeah, it's a muscle that is going to feel very uncomfortable at first, but and you can break it, unlike the growling, you can break this down into different sections. You can break it down and then add a step onto it. So I'm going to talk to you about, you know, kind of taking it, just, you know, the basics of it, and then every time we get to the next step, we'll add on another tactic that makes it sound a little more wolfy. So first, very simple, extremely simplistic, just do this. Okay, that's what we're going to start out with. Just do that. And then we're going to, second step, add in opening your throat. If you don't know how to open your throat, it's basically just think of like you're trying to swallow something 3 times too large, and you're going to swallow it anyway. Open your throat that wide. It's almost like it's not something we do in everyday life. So it's not something that you're just going to have to, you know, figure out how to do, you know, by some aspect. Hopefully that analogy helps. And then do that same sound but with your throat open, and at this point we would also prefer you to also, if you can, just relax your lips. Don't do this, just relax your lips. Okay, sounds different, doesn't it? You know, open my throat that much. Now we're going to pull our tongue back a little bit in the mouth, and then put the tip of the tongue up to the roof of your mouth. Now it's finally starting to sound a little wolfy. But part 3B is that you have to kind of listen to wolves and see how they actually sound, so you don't sound like a robot, okay? You want to sound like a wolf, not a robot. So with the voice crack thing, it's opposite logic as you might think. You might think that you have to really strain your voice, but actually no, it literally cannot crack unless it's relaxed. So yes, you have to use those muscles to open your throat, but everything else has to be really in your throat, has to be very relaxed in order to get that as the main key. And if you can't get it by howling, literally just sit here and try to force your voice to crack. Just sit there and try to force it to crack before you even add it to the howl. Then once you're able to crack your voice on command, then add it to the howl. Okay? You know, it took me well of 2 years to be able to do that, and with growling it took me like 3-4 days. So if you're trying the howling one, don't get discouraged, because it took me 2 years.